I'm going to try again.
You have a twin that just came up.
Many twins.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, we're now functioning good, so I'm going to put it up. Anyways, there's a lot to be said. In other words, essentially the reasons given why, in other words, when halacha is given for a specific reason, so sometimes the reason is secondary to the halacha. The reason why women's Torah study is different is because not only is there a reason given for the halacha that originally women were not intellectually involved on the whole, but there were always exceptions. In other words, whether it's Beruriah or so on, throughout Jewish history, there have always been women who've been very learned, and no one said they're doing something wrong. So now that a high level of education is across the board, men and women, there's no reason to assume that they'll understand the Talmud any less good than the integral calculus and so on, and therefore there's no reason they shouldn't study. And indeed, because women are well educated and because they have access to all the ideas of the world, some of which are toxic, they need a very high level of Torah knowledge to be able to function properly in the modern world. Since they're out there in their workforce and they're studying at a high level, their Torah study needs to be at least, if not higher, level. Anyways, and this is a topic that we've talked about in the past, and it's a very important topic. And maybe one day we'll do a Zoom session with one of the female board members of my organization, and that I'm part of. It's not my organization, I'm part of it, and you can hear from them. Okay, the two of the two of the strongest advocates of a high level of Torah learning for women were, interestingly enough, Rabbi Soloveitchik, the Rav, but also the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who represents an entirely different part of the Jewish world. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a very important statement. It seems to be celebrating the smorgasbord, but actually it isn't. Okay, so we're going to go to Eruvin. So that was a little interlude about Beruriah and women and Torah study, and of course we encourage women to join us here. And now we move on, and everyone, you can bring the nearest. You can bring anyone you want to the class. Now, let's see. Here we are. It's like when the computer goes to sleep for a whole day. I don't know, and but we'll have it in a second. There we are.
Leave it plugged in.
I do. It just goes to sleep. I can't stop that. And then the thingy goes to sleep. Okay, here we are. I'm going to put it up in a second. Yeah, so Thursday we sometimes have to discuss other things until we... Okay, almost there. Here we are, beautiful. Okay, and share. Okay, can you all see it?
Yes.
So Amalei Shmuel or Rav Yehuda. So Shmuel said to Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda was a student of both Rav and Shmuel, the two great heads. The first, after the destruction of the temple, and after the Bar Kokhba revolt, the main Jewish arena of study continued to be Israel. But as the Roman oppression continued and the Roman Empire moved towards Christianity, the academies in Israel were more and more limited, and the economy in Israel went down, and the many Jews moved to Bavel, to Mesopotamia, and the academies in Mesopotamia, which the Jews in Mesopotamia were given almost complete autonomy by the Parthian and then Sassanid rulers, grew. So Rav and Shmuel were the two great founders of the two great schools, Sura and Pampadita, of the Babylonian Talmud. And Rav Yehuda was a student to both of them. So Amalei Shmuel or Rav Yehuda, Shmuel told Rav Yehuda, so this is about the late 3rd century, Shinina, a smart one. Shinina means sharp one. In other words, Chatofa chol v'chol yivishti. grab and eat, grab and drink. The Oma does linimine kilula domi, that the world we're departing is like a wedding feast. So the simple thing is, enjoy life, because, but really what he means to say is that one needs to, this is metaphor, it's Agadah, one needs to grab the opportunity. In other words, at a wedding feast, you have a huge smorgasbord and so on, and you don't usually eat like that at home. So Shmuel said to Rav Yehuda, in the next world, you don't acquire any more mitzvah. You don't acquire any more merits. You just enjoy what you acquired. So in this world, grab every opportunity to do a mitzvah, grab every opportunity to study a Torah, because in the next world, you only have what you can grab in this world. So in other words, you shouldn't spend too much time planning and worrying. Got an opportunity to do a mitzvah, opportunity to study Torah, grab it, because this world is like a big wedding, but soon the feast is over and you don't have an opportunity in the future. If you have something, do well with it. It means to say that if you have money, do well with it, which means to say, have a nice Shabbos table, give lots of charity, because she'ein b'shol tainug. You can't enjoy your money in the netherworld. What's the Yiddish saying? Tachrichin hobenish kinkeshenis. The shrouds have no pockets in them. You can't take it with you. The ein lemavas hismama, and death doesn't wait for anyone, right? The wealthiest person in the world can pay off the angel of death. And and even the non-Jews understand this, right? What's the famous country song? I never saw a hearse with a luggage rack. Same idea.
Yeah.
I never saw.
V'im tomer, if you'll say aniach levanei, I'll leave the money for my children. In other words, why should I give charity? I'll leave it for my children to enjoy. Chok b'shol miyogedlach. How do you know who will die first, and how do you know what they'll do with it? B'nei adam domel isvei asada. People are like the grass of the field. Some blossom and are blessed, and some wither and die. In other words, you don't know what your kids are going to do with your money. So yeah, you should leave them something, but don't not give charity. Don't not do good things. Don't not have guests for Shabbat because you're worried about leaving money for your kids, because you don't control that. And the point of this two pieces of Talmud you don't control how much money you have. You don't control how much money you will have. You don't control what your kids are going to do with it. The only thing you can control is your ability to do good with whatever gifts God gave you, money, intelligence, charisma, etc., in this world. Because the next world, you're only going to experience the radiance of the good, the holiness and good you created in this world. So don't miss an opportunity. Just like a good businessman never misses an opportunity to make a buck, a good Jew never misses an opportunity to do a mitzvah. Okay.
That's a very beautiful statement.
Yeah,
there.
People, in other words, if you look at the grasses of the fields, the flowers of the field, some grow, some die, there's always growth and death happening. And therefore, grab every opportunity for the good. And when you have what to enjoy, thank God for it. That's one of the things we learned from Tu B'Shvat, that Hashem could have just given us wheat and barley and carrots. Instead, he gave us all kinds of beautiful fruits so that we should enjoy Hashem's kindness and appreciate it. And that way we elevate our enjoyment to something holy.
Don't we somewhere else compare men, Adam?
Yeah, Adam Eitz HaSadeh.
Eitz HaSadeh, right.
Yeah, though that's actually an Aggadic explanation. The simple explanation is don't cut down a tree when you're waging war, a fruit tree, because the people are fighting with you, not the trees. Why are the trees shuldik? That's the simple meaning. But the deeper meaning is man is compared to a tree of the field. I'm going to talk about that. We have an extended program this Lunch and Learn, and I'm going to send out an email as soon as we finish this. Okay.
He wrote a beautiful song, Ish HaSadeh.
Yeah. Amar Yeshua ben Levi. Someone walking along the road and you're alone. So you're a little bit afraid. Yasuk b'Torah, study Torah. Shenemra, as it says, Leviyat Cheinheim, they shall be a graceful wreath for you, the words of Torah, from the book of Proverbs. Wisdom personified as Solomon's mother, Bathsheba is speaking in the book of Proverbs. So what does it mean? Accompaniment. So you can read Leviah as a chain around your neck, in other words, like a necklace, a garland, or you can read it as accompaniment because it's the same word, because Leviah means to accompany. So the reason a wreath is called an accompaniment is because it goes all around your neck. And the same idea is that all around your head. And the same thing applies, that the Torah protects us. So if you're afraid, you're all alone, you should study words of Torah, or you can listen to it on your sound system in the car. There are lots of Torah podcasts you can download. You can listen to it in the car. Furthermore, chosh b'rosho yasik b'Torah. If you have a headache, study Torah. Shenemar, as it says, Leviah same l'roshecha. It's a grateful wreath for your head. Chosh b'grono. You have a throat ache. Yasok b'Torah. As it says, v'anokim l'gargutecha, on chains for your neck. Chosh b'mev. You have a tummy ache. Study Torah. Shenemar, as refuah tzilas arecha, it shall be health to your navel. Chosh b'atzmosav. Your bones ache. Study Torah. As it says, v'shikui l'atzmosecha. It is literally, it means as marrow. Shikui means to say as drinking to your bones, which means the health of the marrow. Chosh b'chol gufa, your whole body aches. Study Torah. Shenem, as it says, l'chol b'raso merape, to all health in all their flesh. So there are two ideas over here. One is that every physical illness, you have to go to the doctor too, but every physical illness is ultimately caused by a reduction in life force to that part of the body from the soul. And the life force of the Jew comes from his godly soul, and the godly soul is fed by the Torah. So in addition to going to the doctor, you should study Torah, which will help with the spiritual side of the ailment. Another more deeper interpretation of this is that these are different spiritual ailments. If a person has doubts, your head is bothering you, you have doubts about Hashem, study Torah. The throat is that which constricts between the head and the body. You have trouble controlling. You know what's right, but you have trouble controlling your body's instincts. Study Torah, and so on. Mayav, which is where we digest. We have trouble deciding between what is good, what actions are good, and what actions are bad. The same way your intestines take the good stuff and drive out the waste. So if you're having trouble with your intestines, you have trouble deciding but you are confused between what is good behavior and bad behavior. Study Torah, it will clarify it for you.
It's also known as kishkas.
Yes, that's Yiddish. Chach b'atzmotav. If your bones bother you, study Torah. The bones are what hold up the body, and the health of the bones comes from the marrow. So that's faith. So if you have an issue with faith, which is the bones, the essence of your Judaism, study Torah. Don't just sit and speculate. Chosh b'chol gufo, your whole body bothers you. Yasuk b'Torah. In other words, if a person finds their physicality is a general block to closeness to Hashem, study Torah, because when you involve your body in the Torah, the body becomes, shall we say, tuned in to godliness. And that is the deeper meaning of this piece. And Amar Rav Yehuda Bechia goes on to say, Borei, come and see the attribute of flesh and blood. Shelo k'midat l'Kadosh Baruch Hu midat basar v'dam. That God is different from human beings. Midat basar v'dam. The way that people live is Adam, a person, a doctor gives medicine to someone. L'zeh yafa, l'zeh kasha. Some medicines help one person and don't help another. One of the real interesting things they've discovered is that because of genetic variations, heart medications that work well for one person can actually make things worse for another. So no person can concoct a single medicine that works for all different people for a given ailment. Aval HaKadosh, right? Some people penicillin cures, others it makes them allergic reactions. Aval HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but the Holy One, blessed be He, Eino Kain, is not so. Not on Torah li Yisrael. He gave the Torah to the Jewish people. It is a elixir of life to their whole body, as it says, l'chol baras b'saro merape, and it heals all their flesh. In other words, we're very different, each person from the other. But every one of us can find guidance in the Torah. Every one of us can find direction in the Torah. Every one of us can find solutions to all our doubts and issues in the Torah. We may study it differently, but the Torah is healing to all maladies of the mind and of the spirit. Because there's a path in Torah for everyone.
Is this a Mishnah or Gemara?
No, this is Gemara. Rav Yehuda b'Rabbi Chia this is the Rav Yehuda we had before, the sharp one?
No, because I'm reading it and it's in Hebrew. I don't see Aramaic too much here.
So the answer is that even the rabbis of the Babylonian Talmud speak a lot of Hebrew.
Yeah, I wish they wrote it
As
in
a
Hebrew.
matter of a fact, Joe, the Babylonian Talmud has much more Hebrew than the Jerusalem Talmud. The Israeli Talmud is more pure Aramaic.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Do you know, are you familiar with a phenomenon called Yeshivish Yiddish? People from from Yeshivot, they speak a Yiddish mixed in with Hebrew and Aramaic words?
Yeah.
So this was Yeshivish Aramaic. This is the Aramaic the rabbis spoke to each other, which included a great deal of Hebrew. It's like Yiddish today is mixed in with English. So, for example, and those, you'll excuse me, if you know a bit of Yiddish, you'll appreciate this. So I'm in Williamsburg one day. There's a little cafe. Before COVID, I used to stop sometime. Some mornings I start 4 a.m. and I pass through Williamsburg from when I go out on my kosher trips. And there's a cute little cafe, very inexpensive, fantastic, breakfast food. So I stopped there. So it's in the neighborhood. It's in the cheaper neighborhood. It's on the outskirts of Williamsburg, where all the warehouses are. And these warehouses are all like owned by Satmar Hasidim. Satmar Hasidim, by the way, have the market not just for photographic equipment, but sporting goods. All the cheaper camping goods and everything people take to Mount Everest, it's all Satmar Hasidim, because they discovered how to make it cheaper in Asia. Anyways. So I go past one of these and everything, carpets, you name it, Satmars have their hand in it. Anyways, so I walk past this huge warehouse and I hear 2 people speaking in Yiddish. And one is obviously named Beryl and one is Yankel. And Beryl says to Yankel, literally I heard this, Yankel, nimm the forklift und bring 2 pallets and legen sie auf the truck. And bring they to the zweite warehouse. So you see, that's Yiddish. English and Yiddish all mixed together because Yiddish adapts. So Aramaic also adapted. If you listen to the Kurdish Jews who still speak Aramaic, yeah?
That's called the English.
Yeah, but it's a lot of Arabic now in the Kurdish Aramaic. It's not like the Aramaic from the Gemara. Okay. And now we come back to Beruriah and we'll finish. Amar Rav Hami, what is it written? It's from Proverbs again. It is a pleasant thing if you keep them within you, let them firmly be attached together to your lips. When are the words of Torah pleasant? When you keep them within you, know them, when you learn them by heart. So that way, when will you keep them within you? They're attached to your lips. So if you say the words of Torah out loud, you read the Torah portion each week, you read Mishnah and so on, you read it out loud, over time, it'll become part of you and you'll remember it. And it's a custom among Jews that wherever they go, you should have words of Torah that you can say. There's physical air pollution and there's spiritual air pollution. And when a Jew walks in the street or goes on the subway or so on, in New York, or takes a bus, or whatever, you're stuck in traffic on the 91, wherever you are, if you say words of Torah, you purify the air spiritually. You make the world a better place. Okay, so with that, I wish everyone a wonderful day and a happy Tu B'Shvat. And remember, you'll see this in the email. We are having a special 30-minute session by lunchtime today, all about Tu B'Shvat. And meanwhile, go find a new fruit and make sure you say Shechiyanu today. And look out for everyone check their email about an hour from now, and it will be in your inbox. All the best, everyone. Have a
Thank you
wonderful day.
very much, Rabbi.
Thank
Happy
you.
to be
Have a good day,
Shalom
Bob,
tov.
Bobby. 2-3 Bobs, and Michael and Joe and everyone else. Take care.
All right.
Hey, Bob K.
Yeah,
Where is my book?
I sent you something.